Hello all you God Emperor loving cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic, and today, finally, we are sitting down to review the latest installment of Relic Entertainment's critically acclaimed Dawn of War series, Dawn of War 3. Relic are one of those companies that have consistently produced top quality Warhammer 40,000 games over the years, which is very important in the recent sea of shit that the franchise has received of late. In tune with the rest of the series, Dawn of War 3 once again changes its core mechanics since we had the first game, which was an RTS, then we had the second one, which was a team-based tactics RPG, and now we have the third, which is a blend of 1, 2, and they've thrown in some modern MOBA elements for good measure. The recent multiplayer that I previewed went down very well all round critically and with fans, but I still had my reservations about the full game. So let's get right into it, starting with, of course, the core mechanics. There are three main armies in Dawn of War 3, Eldar, Orcs and Space Marines. Each is mechanically diverse and different from the other. They all have different gameplay elements and play and feel very differently from each other. For example, the Orcs use a technology tree known as War, so as you play and you fight, you gain levels via that way, whereas the other two armies, they have tech trees that are built into resources, so you have to pay to unlock the next tier tree. On top of that, for example, again, the Orcs have, the only way the Orcs can upgrade their individual units is by salvaging loot on the battlefield. So if you destroy an enemy tank, then a new squad of Orc boys will be able to go and loot that salvage and upgrade themselves with new equipment. Each army has a roster of base units, which are called line units, and then it has elite units, and you can only ever select up to 3 elite units to take into any given single player mode match or multiplayer match. Elite units cost elite points, which are gathered over time, and it's something that I've struggled with through my entirety of my time with Dawn of War 3. I love the elite unit system. I think it's a really fun system. Each elite unit has not only unique stats and is unique in terms of playstyle, but they also have activated abilities that can really turn the tide of battle. The problem is, I feel that the elite units in certain cases have taken away from Army's basic line unit roster. So for example, the Orcs have Storm Boys as an elite unit, which I think should really be a line unit, and you should be able to just build them from your base. As the same thing goes for Eldar, they have Striking Scorpions as a elite unit, whereas again I think they should have just been a line unit. And I feel that most armies' basic roster suffers from the fact that the elite units have got tons of units to choose from, and I feel that elite units in certain cases should have been, well, more elite or at least more rare. For example, I think Striking Scorpions should have been a line unit. Then you could have had Harlequins as an elite unit because they are a very rare squad. And I think that just a couple of changes here and there and more unit diversity within the core army roster itself would have been a little bit better in the long run, but for the most part the elite system works very well. In terms of the multiplayer, the elite system again works very well, but there are a couple of elite units that I think need balancing. In particular, the Imperial Knight Solaria. She is way overpowered, and yes, she does cost a hell of a lot of elite points. She costs like 10 elite points, which will take you the majority of the match to actually acquire, but once she is fielded, holy crap, is she a force to be reckoned with. I also love the fact that they brought base building back. The base building is very simplistic, it works very well and is executed well. Also, it's something that most players will be able to just easily pick up and play. You have, unit structures, you have resource structures that you're able to build on resource points so that you can collect more resources, and you also have things like shrines or arsenals where you're able to basically research technologies that will upgrade your units or provide them with new abilities. I have to say that my biggest gripe with the core mechanics was the cover system. The cover system in Dawn of War 2, mainly because it was a team-based tactics game, was really, really well done. The problem with this one is that because they've tried to go a more traditional RTS route, or at least a traditional RTS hybrid route, it ends up being that you use a blob system whereby there are specific points of cover that you can capture, which then forms a shield, and once any given cover point is captured, only enemy melee units can enter that, and ranged units cannot. It is a simple system that I feel, for the most part, it works as intended, as they have intended it to work, but I don't think it is good as a cover system. It's not versatile, it's not diverse. It means that there are big sections of any given map that are just problematic and don't have any kind of cover at all. For the most part, I think that is probably the biggest letdown of the core mechanics by far. But enough about the core mechanics, let's talk about what we really want to talk about. Let's first talk about the single player. The single player is roughly around 16, 17 missions long. Each mission will probably take you 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes at a good run if you're on easy difficulty. If you play it on normal to hard difficulty like I do, it's probably going to take, any given mission will probably take 30 to 45 minutes. There's plenty of content there. I did enjoy the single player, and I'll tell you why specifically I enjoyed that single player. The single player was great for the story. The story was really well done. I loved the format. Unlike the previous games where you played the story through the eyes of the Space Marines up until Retribution, where you had multiple campaigns for different races, this time you have a single campaign where you play as all three races in different missions, and the story and the events all tie together. So you will play as the Orcs sieging a fort, and then you will play as the Space Marines defending later on in that fort, and then you will play as the Eldar coming in last minute and wiping the shit out of everybody. That's basically how this single player works. It's a really enjoyable format. I appreciated it for what it was. It's linear, it's straightforward, it's well executed, and there's a nice return of some of the old beloved characters. Gabriel Angelos is back, Diomedes is back, although he's a chaplain now. You have, from the Eldar side, people like Jane Vo, the Phoenix Lord. You have Ranger Rohan back, which is nice. You have Gorguts from the Orc side back. So there's, really relatable, fun characters within that story itself. And it's an interesting story. It's a little bit cliche towards the end. I'm not going to spoil the story. I will say that I did see what happens coming, because it's basically what happens every single Warhammer 40k story ever. But it's an enjoyable experience that I thought was executed very well. The voice acting for the most part was good, the writing was good, the missions were okay. There were some missions within that game that were really interesting and a hell of a lot of fun. There was a mission in particular which I can't tell you much about, but I will say it's an homage to the Last Stand mode of Dawn of War Retribution. There's multiple different missions with multiple different objectives, and they're a lot of fun. However, overall, a lot of the mission structure within the single player itself is a setup almost to the multiplayer. It's almost like a giant big 17 mission tutorial whereby things get introduced really, really slowly. So that was a little bit of a noticeable issue. Now, while the single player is certainly good from a story point, and yes, it does have its issues within terms of the mission mechanics themselves, I have to say that objectively, it is a very good single-player campaign. Subjectively, however, it was not what I was looking for. I was looking for a more diverse campaign that Dawn of War 2 provided. I liked the fact in Dawn of War 2 you could select optional missions. You had progression systems like war gear involved. And that, to me, is a lot more fun than what Dawn of War 3 provided. Objectively, it's a great single-player campaign, but I think big fans of Dawn of War 2's systems and the way that Dawn of War 2 was made might be a little bit disappointed here. Not to mention the fact that it's only 17 missions long, and with no optional missions and no progression systems in terms of war gear, then that is a little bit problematic. And I feel that if you had high anticipations of something like Dawn of War 2's single player, then again, you are going to be a little bit disappointed. So let's get on to the multiplayer. Now, the multiplayer was a big disappointment for me, and not for the reason that you think. I absolutely love the core mechanics of the multiplayer. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy the fact that you can select your elite units, you can level those elite units up, and then you can purchase via the in-game currency skulls army doctrines that will change a certain thing about either one of your elite units, or it will change something about your line units. So for example, army doctrines can give elite units and line units different abilities, or they can, give them a specific stat upgrade, or they will do something that will change the nature, or at least affect change in something about your army. Barring that progression system, the multiplayer, the power core mode works really well. I enjoyed the MOBA style mechanics and the thing that was involved in the objective-based gameplay. So you had to take out the shield generator, then you had to take out the turret, then you have to take out the enemy's power core to win the match. It also provided a really nice way, especially when you get into the 3v3. There's multiple things going on in every given match. There's, chances for really big comebacks. It's fairly balanced for the most part. Not perfectly balanced by a long stretch, but, if you have enough skill, then you can easily overcome any kind of disadvantage that you have. The thing I was disappointed at in the multiplayer was the fact that there was no other modes. Like, there's just none. There's just the power core mode, and that's it, which was very disappointing. I would have liked to see a traditional RTS team deathmatch mode. I would have liked to see, a hold the air, a Dominion mode, something like that, and there was none of that. And I think that is probably something that could come post-launch, but in terms of variety within the multiplayer itself, there is just not enough. It's a very well executed multiplayer that is a lot of fun, and I will be playing it for hours and hours, but it's something that really does lack variety in almost all of its content. So what do I think overall? Well, I think objectively, it is a fantastic addition to the franchise. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a fantastic game. It's a lot of fun. Everything that within that game is executed very well. Performance, graphically, audibly, it's just great. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. It's a top Warhammer 40,000 video game. For me personally, on a subjective level, it wasn't quite what I was looking for. I was looking for, well, basically another Dawn of War 2. I did not get that. I was looking for a Dawn of War 2 with, more Dawn of War 1. Less MOBA elements. The MOBA elements within the game aren't bad per se, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. And I think that with the lack of progression system in terms of things like war gear and that kind of thing, that was in the single player especially, that was disappointing. The complete linear experience of the single player was a little bit disappointing, although it was a great story and it was worth playing through. And I had to say that when I finished that playthrough, I looked back and I said that was really good, but it didn't have this, and I wanted this, and this. Overall, it's a great game. If you're a fan of Dawn of War, you definitely need to go buy this. It's a lot of fun. You will not regret it. And with the multiplayer, you'll be playing against your friends for hours and hours and hours. I think, however, you have to understand your expectations and anticipations coming in. If you're expecting Dawn of War 2, you ain't going to get it. If you're expecting Dawn of War 1, you ain't going to get that either. It is a mix middled with a little bit of MOBA here and there. And you have to come in being prepared for what this game does right and what it does not do at all. And if you really set your expectations correctly, you will enjoy the crap out of this. If you're coming in expecting a Dawn of War 2 and will not be happy without a Dawn of War 2, then you are going to be disappointed. And it's important to really assess where your expectation level is in terms of Dawn of War 3. Objectively, it is a great game. There are very few flaws with this game, and any flaws that are contained within, such as elite balance, are going to be easily rectified. Other than that though, there are no big problems with this game. It's very well executed, and it's a fun Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War game. So for that reason, I say it's well worth picking up as soon as possible and enjoying the crap out of. And that is my review of Dawn of War 3. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe and share the video on social media. And as always, I will see you next time.